People are joining. Just one more second. Okay. I will call the roll numbers and unmute and say yes. Okay. Roll number 1,
Present, sir.
2,
Yes, sir.
3, 4,
Present, sir.
6, 7,
Present, sir.
8,
Present, sir.
9,
Present, sir.
10, 11, 12,
Present, sir.
13,
Present, sir.
14,
Present, sir.
15, 16, 17, 18,
Present, sir.
19,
Yes, sir.
20,
Yes, sir.
21, 22,
Present, sir.
23, 24,
Present, sir.
25, 26,
Present, sir.
27,
Yes, sir.
28,
Present, sir.
29,
Yes, sir.
30, 31,
Present, sir.
32, 33,
Yes, sir.
34,
Present, sir.
35, 36, 37,
Present, sir.
38,
Yes, sir.
39,
Yes, sir.
40,
Present, sir.
41,
Yes, sir.
42, Pratiksha, mute, please. Okay. 42, 43,
Yes, sir.
44,
Yes,
45,
sir.
45, 46,
Present, sir.
47, 48,
Present, sir.
49, 50, 51, 52,
Present, sir.
52, 53,
Present, sir.
54, 55, 56, 57,
Present, sir.
58,
Present, sir.
59, 60, 61, 62,
Present, sir.
63, 64, 65, 66,
Present, sir.
65, right?
Yes, sir.
66, 67, 68, 69,
Present, sir.
70, 71.
Sir, 62 is present.
62. Okay, 62 is there. Anybody missed?
Sir, 59.
59. Okay. Anybody else?
Sir, 06 is present.
06. 70 is present. 06 is present. Anybody else? 48. Okay, got it. 30 is present. Anybody else? Okay, 51. Aman, what is your roll number? $18.64. Which was gonna be 64. I got it. 18. 18 is present. 50. Yes, 60. I got it. Okay, all right. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, in fact. We'll start with Internet Protocol. That is where we stopped yesterday. Any questions from yesterday? If you have any questions, I can take questions. Okay, any questions you guys have? Okay, no, we'll start with the protocol, internet protocol. Protocol, I gave one example is like a protocol is a set of rules when we are doing the communication. I gave the example of this class. We are following certain protocol here. The way we are communicating to each other, we are following certain protocol. So in the internet, there are it's a huge network. We need to have a protocol, proper protocol, so that the communication is seamless. There is no loss of information, and it is effective. So that is the reason we use the protocol. The internet exists today because of the suite of interrelated communication protocols. So there are interrelated communication protocols. That is how the present internet is working. A protocol is set of rules that partners in communication use when they communicate. So protocols are nothing but a set of rules how we have to communicate. So there are certain rules that needs to be followed. TCP/IP internet protocols were originally abstracted as a 4-layer stack. So the TCP/IP, that is the protocol, initially it was abstracted as a 4-layer stack. Now, like later, there is subdivided some of the layers, and there is a 5 or 7 layer protocols. For us, for simplicity of understanding, we will go with the 4-layer, and we would be more interested in the application layer, where you build your web application. As a web developer, you should be aware of the application layer. So just we will get into a detail of a 4-layer architecture. Okay, so these are the 4 layers. We have a link layer, that is the bottommost layer, and on top of that we have internet layer, transport layer, and application layer. So link layer is it is responsible for all the physical transmission of the data, raw data, whatever the raw data we have. So it includes the physical connection and physical transmission of the data. That is the link layer. On top of that, we have a internet layer, So what internet layer does is it establishes connection. Does the routing, addressing, all those activities are done by the internet layer. Then on top of that have the transport layer. Transport layer ensures the transmissions of the packets, like basically the whatever the raw data you want to transmit, it is converted into a packets. Those packets are transmitted over the network without any error, and they will be transmitted in a certain order. A piece of information, if you want to transmit, it is broken into packets, and these packets will be sent in an order, and at the receiving side these packets are joined together in the order it has received. Okay, so it follows the particular order. When it joins that particular packets in that particular order, it gets the information that needs to be transmitted from the transmitter. So that is how the information is passed. And on top of the transport layer, we have the application layer. So application layer allows the application to interact with the transport layer. So we are going to deal with the application layer here, like HTTP, FTP, and POP, etc. Those are the protocols that are in the application layer. Link layer. So bottom one is the link layer. Okay, it is responsible for the physical transmission. Okay, link layer is the lowest layer responsible for both the physical transmission across media. So it can be a wired connection or wireless connection. So if you are using a wired connection, it will be through the physical cable. Otherwise, it is a wireless transmission. And establishing logical links. It handles issues like packet creation. I told you, like whatever the information, whatever the raw data you want to transmit over the network, it is divided into packets. Link layer is responsible for creating those packets and transmission at the physical layer, reception, and whenever one is the transmission, also if it is receiving, then reception is its responsibility, reception of the packets, and error detection. So if what is error detection is whether that particular information was transmitted properly or not. Was there any loss of data in transmission? So there are some techniques using which we can identify if there is an error in particular transmission or not. Collisions, line sharing, and more. So that is the responsibility of the link layer. And on top of that, we have the internet layer. Sometimes it is also called as a IP layer, Internet Protocol layer, routes the packets between communication partners across the network. So at the link layer, we create the packets, and that routing has to happen. So internet layer is responsible for routing to the required destinations, like required devices over the network. The internet uses the internet protocol address, that is IP address. IP address, I told you, IP address is unique for all the devices that are connected in the network. That means every device that is connected in the network will have an unique address that we call it as IP address. So the internet uses IP address to identify destinations on the internet. Every device connected to the internet has an IP address. So every device that gets connected to the internet will have an unique IP address, which is numeric code that is meant to uniquely identifying it. So you can just think of like these addresses are similar to our physical addresses, mailing addresses. We will not have a same address repeating. So all addresses are unique. So similarly on the network, if we want to find the devices, if you want to identify the devices, we use the IP address. So each device will have a unique IP. It will not be replicated. So that is how we can route the data to the required devices with IP address. So these are the IP addresses. So this is the example. You must have already seen the what is IP address. You will see how do we get that. Like we have like IPv4 and IPv6. We will see what are the differences in that. So here is a IP address. Okay, if you can see, like there are numbers with separated with a dot. So this is a IPv4 here. Like each of this dot, whatever you see is a number. This is a 8-bit number. All these are 8-bit numbers separated by dot. So every device in the network will have a unique IP address. You can see the laptops are there, handheld devices, routers, printers, okay, servers, and this is another server. So every device will have a unique address. This will be assigned by the internet service provider, ISP. So we have IPv4. Okay, whatever the address you saw here, this is a like a IPv4 address. In this case, IPv4 addresses are the IP addresses from the original TCP/IP protocol. So when originally TCP/IP protocol started, it used the IPv4 standards, like for giving the addresses. Basically it consists of 12 numbers. So how that is 12 numbers is like you can see here 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. So there are 12 numbers. 12 numbers are there, are used, implemented as a 4 8-bit integers. So you can see we have 4 8-bit. So this is a 8-bit integer, this is a 8-bit integer, this is a 8-bit integer, this is the 8-bit integer. So if we have a 8-bit integer, then what are the possible values we can have? 2 raised to 8, that is 256. So we can have possible values ranging from 0 to 255. So here for each of these addresses, each of these integers separated by dot, you can have a value 0 to 255. So this number can be 0 to 255, this number can be 0 to 255, and so on. That is what this explains. Implemented as 4 8-bit integers written with a dot between each integer. Okay, since an unsigned 8-bit integer maximum value is, so this is an unsigned 8-bit, so 2 raised to 8, that makes 256, 0 to 255. So value is 255. 4 integers together can encode approximately. So how many unique with this kind of a system, how many unique IP addresses that I can generate? I can generate about 4.2 billion unique IP addresses with this standard. Okay, now you can see with the rapid growth of the internet and the internet devices, this number, okay, 4.2 billion might shortfall. So the future proof of internet against 4.2 billion limit. A new version, because we have a limitation of 4.2 billion IP addresses. So we can have currently the whole world is connected, and there are so many millions of billions of internet devices, and it is keep on increasing. The network is increasing. So having this kind of a limitation is not a good sign for the future. So they came up with a new version of IP protocol, that is IPv6. Okay, in case of IPv6, the newer version uses 8 16-bit integers. So we are going to use 8 16-bit. So how many would be there is total 128 bits. So for 2 raised to 128, 128 is the possible number of bits we can have with IPv6. We will see this in detail with the example in the next slide. Okay, so this 2 raised to 128 results in billion times the number of IPv4. So that number restriction, basically that 4.2 billion restriction with the IPv4 is overcame using this IPv6 by having billion times the what IP addresses we can have with the IPv4 scheme. These 16-bit integers are normally written in the hexadecimal due to their larger length. So in case of IPv6, we represent it with a hexadecimal because it is a 16-bit. So here your IP address will generally be assigned to you by your internet service provider. Okay, how you get your IP address? It is assigned by the internet service provider. In organization, large and small, purchasing extra IP addresses from ISPs not cost effective. So normally the organization will not buy as many IPs as the number of devices. They will buy as many IPs which needs to connect with the internet. So rest is the intranet. We talked about the intranet. Everything would be intranet, and whichever the devices which is needs to connect to the internet will be having the proper IP address. And the same local network computers can share a single IP address between them. So inside the intranet, they can share the single IP address. You can see IPv4 address here. In this scheme, we will have 4 8-bit components. So this is 8-bit, second number, third number, 4 numbers, each of 8-bit, 8 into 4, 32 bits. And what are the possible addresses that we can have, IP addresses that we can have? 2 raised to 30, 2 raised to 32. Similarly, okay, you can see here IPv6, it uses 8 16-bit numbers. So you can, if you see here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, so all these are 16-bit components and they are represented in a hexadecimal. So total how many bits we can have? 8 into 16, that is 128 bits. And how many unique IP addresses we can get from this is, from 128 bits is 2 raised to 128. So those many IP addresses we can generate. Next is the transport layer. So we started with the link layer. Okay, that is the bottom most. Okay, link layer. So this responsibility here is like it is a physical transmission, creation of the packets, reception of the packets, and next this internet layer, making connection, routing, all those things are done here. And transportation layer, it ensures the transmissions of the packets. The transport layer ensures the transmissions arrive in order and without error. So it will make sure that all the packets that come in, they come in order and without any error. It will make sure that there are no errors. This is accomplished through a few mechanisms. There are certain mechanisms by how to find the order, how to find the error, all those things are done at this layer. First, the data is broken into packets, formatting according to the transmission control protocol. Okay, so data is broken into packets as per the TCP protocol. Secondly, each packet is acknowledged back to the sender. So the event of the lost packet to the transmitter will realize the packet has been lost, since no ACK arrived for that packet. So what happens is, when transportation layer, it receives the certain packet, it responds with the ACK. ACK is acknowledgement, ACK, acknowledgement. So the sender will know that this particular packet has been received by the receiver. If it, suppose if it doesn't get this ACK, okay, that means that that particular is lost. That particular packet is lost. So what it will do is, it will resend. It will the sender will resend the packets until it gets the ACK. Okay, ACK is like a handshaking. So sender will send the packet, and receiver, when he receives, he will acknowledge to the sender that the packet is received. So then the loop is closed. Sender now knows that the packet has been received by the receiver. It is not a one-way transmission. So there is a acknowledgement mechanism. When acknowledgement is not received for a particular packet, let's say there are 10 packets, and out of that, the third packet, there is no ACK received by the sender. When it doesn't receive the ACK, it will resend that third packet. When the receiver receives the third packet, it will acknowledge with the ACK. Then the transmission is complete. At the receiving side, the packets are arranged in a proper out of order. It will reorder the packets and extract the data. So here is the example. Okay, this is the message. Okay, you can see this is the message. The message is broken into 3 pieces. Okay, the map of some information, some text is there, so it is broken. There are 3 messages, 1 2 3. Now what happens is here first is the whole message is broken into packets. Okay, how many packets? This message is divided into 3 packets. Now this is the sender. Okay, first packet. Okay, for each TCP packet sent, ACK is received. So you can see here the sender is sending the packet number 1 and receiver sending the ACK for the packet 1. Okay, so now the sender will know that this particular packet has been received by the receiver. Similarly, you can see the second packet has been sent, but there is no ACK. Okay, so when it is sent means it must not have received, or there are some errors, or it is lost in the network. So there is no ACK generated for the 2. And you can see the third packet is also sent, and ACK, acknowledgement for the third, is sent back. Now for the second message there is no ACK. What the sender will do, resend that particular packet, and when it receives the acknowledgement, the transmission is complete. So after this step, okay, after step number 3, all the packets are received. If you see how the packets are received, the order 1, 3 and 2. So even though it is not in the order, message reassembled from the packets and ordered according to their sequence numbers. So there is an easy way to identify the order. So here it will be reordered and the message is extracted. So you can see this particular message has been extracted at the receiving end. The top layer is the application layer. With the application layer, we are at the level of protocols familiar to most of the web developer. So HTTP, then FTP, POP, there are so many protocols that are in the application layer. Application layer protocols implement process-to-process communication. So in this layer, there is a process-to-process level of abstraction in comparison to the low level packet and IP addresses protocols in the layers below it. So these are the examples of the application layer protocols. HTTP, okay, hypertext transfer protocol, this is secured shell, SSH, FTP, file transfer protocol, DNS, domain name server, POP, SMTP, this is a mail transfer protocol. So there are so many protocols are there in the application layer. Okay, client server model. We talked briefly during the introduction about the client server model. The web is sometimes referred to as the client server model of communication. So why it is client server model is a client will request, okay, it will put certain request for the page or the image for any kind of resource, and that request transmits over the network, and there is a server receives that request and it processes and it sends back the response through the network to the client. At the client, it will take the from the response, it will get all the required information what it has requested. So if you see this particular structure, the whole web, it is like a client server model. Everywhere you will see the web application, you request something and it is the request is taken care by the server and a response is given back. In the client server model, there are two essential two entities. One is client, one is server. So what is a client? Can you give me an example of a client? What do you think is a client in a web application? You can put your answers in the chat. What do you understand by the client? You can give examples. And if you want to speak up, you can just unmute and speak. Who makes request? Okay, user, end user. Prajwal, correct. Alfan, correct. Ravi, the browser which request, correct. Google user, any user. Okay. Okay, good answer. So the which you have created a web application, right? Whoever is the user who request, okay, and technically the client is the your browser where you have the web application running. That is the client, and the end user which makes the request, the clicks or whatever actions that will result in a request. Okay. The server is a computer agent that is normally active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or simply 24/7, listening for the queries from any client who makes a request. So, server has to be up and running all the time. Okay. If you are seeing, if you want to go to the google.com, you go anytime, right? It is up and running because the server is running. Whatever the request you are putting in, it takes and it provides. Let us say if we stop that server, if you type www.google.com, the page will not load. Okay, because the application, the server is down. For normally all the servers, including our college website and whichever is business critical, right? Business critical applications, public website, public applications, all those applications will be active 24/7 unless there is some problem. Okay, or there are sometimes there are maintenance windows. Sometimes you want to do some maintenance on the servers. That time you bring down the server and you give them a scheduled time. Without bringing down also, there are certain options. There will be multiple servers. They take out, I will show one structure for that. They will take out one of the server, service it, okay, put it back, and they do this taking out one server at a time so that there is no interruption to the services. Okay. Client is a computer agent that makes a request and receives a response from the server in the form of a response code, images, text files, and other data. So we already know about this. Request response loop. Within the client server model, the request response loop is most basic mechanism on the server for receiving the requests and transmitting the data in response. So this is very intuitive. Request to the server is giving a response to the client. The client initiates a request to server and gets a response that could include some resources like an HTML file, an image, or some other data. Okay, any questions so far? Any question? So I'll correct it. End user, we call them as end user. That's a client. Any questions so far? Okay. I assume no. You can speak up. Make it as a little interactive. Okay. Whatever the time you are spending, it should be useful. You should be able to learn something. And if you have a question, some other people might be also having that kind of a question. It will answer others also. Okay. So you don't have to shy. Okay. You just put the question. Either you can speak out or put it in the chat. This is another kind of a model, peer-to-peer model. Earlier we saw the client-server model. We have a client and one server, right? And in reality, there will be thousands of clients, and we will have a server or set of servers. We will see how that architecture is serving the requests. In case of peer-to-peer model, where each computer is functionally identical, each node is able to send and receive directly with another. So in this model, if you see, every node or the computer is connected to every other node, and computationally all these are similar. In the client server model, if you see, our client is very thin. There is not much computing required on the client. Suppose if you are using the web application, or let's say handheld devices or laptop, much computing capacity is not required. Okay, only what you need is it should be able to run a browser. The computation is done at the server side, correct? In this scenario, each of these node, when it is connected in peer-to-peer model, it will act like a client as well as a server. It can request, also it can give response. So if it get a request from someone, it will process and it will respond. And if it wants to request something, it will request, it will become a client. So each of these nodes are computationally similar. Okay. In such model, each peer acts as a both a client and a server, able to upload and download information. Okay, there are different server types are there. You can see here it's a data server, okay, where we store the data. Application server, okay, to run the applications, we can have a separate server, application server. Authentication server, okay, where you want to authenticate the users. Email server, for taking care of all the email related request. You have email server. Web server, taking care of all web related request, web server. And we have here media server, if we require anything related to the media, we have the media server. Am I audible, right? Just light went off, don't worry about that. Am I audible? Okay, all right. Okay, server farm. Okay, I told you about suppose normally all the servers are up and running 24/7, right? But sometimes we have to bring it down for some maintenance related activities, something like that. Normally, we don't use a single server. You can see here, this is a client request that is coming in. If you see here, the request is being served by the, we have 3 servers, right? Google, for example, for Google, there are billions of users are there. They are using it every day, right? There are a lot of requests that is coming to the Google server. So if there is a only single server, I don't think it would be able to handle so many requests. So there is a set of servers that will work together to cater the client requests. Here you can see there are 3 web servers. So how does the routing of the request happens? Because there are 3 servers, isn't it? So there is something called as a load balancer. So we will have a load balancer. It will check how which one of these server is less loaded, right? It will route that request to that particular server. Let's say this web server and this web server, they are working at a 80% load, and this is just 40% load. So whatever the request comes, load balancer will route it to this particular server. Similarly, let us say your application has a database, huge database is there, and the request has to be done to the database from the web server. So you can see here, similarly, I can have multiple database servers, and similarly, I will have a load balancer. Whichever web server is making request to the data server, this load balancer will check which one is less loaded. It will route that request, and response is sent back from that particular. Suppose if this one takes the request, it will route it back to whichever server that is requesting. That is how the requests are handled. Now, let us say for the maintenance work, you want to bring down one of the servers. So for client, you don't want to give any interruptions. So client doesn't want to see the website or the web application going down even for a second. So what they normally will do is they will disconnect one of the servers. Okay, they take it for the maintenance. After the maintenance, they put it back on the network. So until this web server has taken out, these 2 servers will be servicing the client request. So you will not see any interruption. There might be little slowness because you are taken down. Normally they will choose such a window where the traffic is less. Similarly, same thing can be done for these database servers. Router. Any questions? Okay. So what is a router? Before we start, because I am sure everybody at your home you must have been having the router. Okay, what is a router? All of you guys try to answer, right? There is no right. Don't feel if you give wrong answer it is a bad remark. Nothing like that. Just as of now you don't know. Okay, what is a router? You are guessing because already you have a router at your home. Router which extends the connection by being a switch. Okay. Any other answer? Do you have a router at home, all of you? If you have internet connection at home, do you have a router? Yes or no? Networking device? Yes, it's a networking. Most important networking device. That is correct, Alpha. Okay, all right. Most of the people might be having mobile. You must be using mobile. That is fine. If you have internet connection at home, you will see the router. So wireless router is perhaps the most visible manifestation of the internet. So internet means like it's a visible manifestation. It is not an internet. It's a visible manifestation of the internet. Okay, in one's home, that it is the device we typically need to purchase and install. Okay, if you have internet connection at home, you will be having the router. Routers are the in fact one of the most important and ubiquitous hardware devices that makes the internet work. As the name suggests, okay, is a hardware device that forwards data packets from one network to another network. So it is a routing. The name as it says, it is a network hardware device. As the name suggests, it is a routing. So it is a routing from one network to another network. We will see the example, you will understand better. So we have, so this is a simple network we have here. So you can see these are the routers. Okay, these are the routers. This is a sender and this is a receiver, or this is a destination. Now I told you every device in the network will have a unique IP address, isn't it? So this device has a unique IP address. This is the IP address of this device, and this router has this unique IP address. Excuse me. Similarly, you can see these are the unique addresses of each of these devices that are connected in the network. And sender. Okay, if you remember, we took that example, like the message was broken into 3 packets. This is the first packet. This is the sender address from which device it is being sent, and destination address and where it has to be sent. So this particular packet has to be sent to this. If you see here, destination address, this is exactly same as this, right? So sender, this is a sender IP, and this is the receiver IP, and this is the packet. So when it is sent to the router, so this network is connected to this router. This router table will have mapping. So this is a routing table. It will have a mapping. So you can see here, this is the destination address, right? I will just say last number of the IP address 240. So this message, this packet has to be sent to 240, IP 240. So this will have a mapping. When I want to send some packet to this particular IP address, next this router will route to this next destination, which is next destination 65.47.242.9, which is nothing but this router. Okay, so this packet will be sent to this router. Again, this routing table will have a next IP address. So for this destination, this has to be routed to this address. Next is 223.130. That is 223.130. So that packet is routed to this address, and the routing table of this particular router will have the next IP address to be routed. So that is 198. For this destination, it will be routed to 198.182. So that packet will come here, and that is connected to the destination. That is how the packet which is sent from this IP address will be received at the destination address. Clearly, if you are sending something here, okay, it will see something to this address, okay, 142.109, okay, 149.46. So this address, the next IP address where it would be sending is like this. So information from come like this, routing is done, and if this destination becomes the sender to this new destination, information is sent back like this. Okay. Okay, DNS, domain name system. Domain name system. What is a domain name server? Okay, we will have a server for resolving those names. If I told you, like, all the devices in the network, they are identified by a unique IP address, right? But let us say instead of www.google.com, if they had given you IP address, okay, 192.168 point something like that IP address, it's very difficult to remember the name, isn't it? Do you agree? If all the websites were like given only IP address, it's very difficult to remember the IP address. So the solution for that is a domain name system. What domain name system will do is it will do a mapping between a name, domain name, and the IP address. So when the DNS provides an alternate name for the IP address, that it maps. Okay, so you will have a name, any name you can choose, and this name will be mapped to one IP address. When the client is requesting, you can see here, he wants to access www.funwebdev.com. Now this is not we need to find out what IP address this belongs to. So this request will go to a domain name server. So DNS server, we call it as a domain name server. In the domain name server, there will be a mapping between this domain name and a IP address. Okay, so this will be sent to the DNS, and DNS resolves the name and it gives back the IP address. So it gives the IP address back. So what is the IP address for this? 66.147.244.79. That name is sent back to the client. Then the request goes to the client, so default page, and then it hits that particular server. So if I can access this server in two ways, one using the domain name, one using the direct IP address. If you give the direct IP address, it will directly route it to the this server. If you give the domain name like this, it will go to the domain name server, it gets the IP address, and then it makes the request, and whatever the response is given by the server, it is sent back to the client. So that is how the domain name system works. Okay, so today we covered all the internet protocol, what are the different layers, okay, and what are the different server types, what are the server farms, okay, how DNS works, okay, and what is IPv4 and IPv6. So, and how many unique IP addresses we can have using IPv4 and IPv6. So any questions? Any questions? Or did you not understand any part? Okay. So everything is clear? So all of you, I want you to answer, what is a DNS?
Sir, DNS is used for whenever we'll be typing URL, it will be redirected to the particular IP address or the website.
Okay, very good. What is the job of transportation layer? Anybody else? You can also type your answers in the chat session. Transport layer, what it does? If you want to answer, unmute and you can answer. Transport layer. Converts the packets used to send. Okay. Send. So it ensures transmission of the packets. Okay. Transmission of the packet. Delivers the data. Okay, good, Prathamesh. Okay, so now you have to be very specific with the terminology, delivers transmissions. Okay, you have the understanding. Use the right word that will give more meaning. Okay, that is good. So we will end today's class. In the next class, there are a few more concepts are there. We will cover that. Then we'll start with your HTML. Okay. Thank you, everybody. The class ends here. You may disconnect.